prevented from putting a no-swim notice.
What?
We were prevented from putting a no-swim notice.
Okay, explain that to them as far as.
Well, that was what I was told. I mean, you want to say it?
I know, we'll just.
Okay, we'll leave it.
If I could just have a second to talk about swimming safety. In anywhere in unchlorinated waters, there's a risk. There's an inherent risk swimming anywhere. It doesn't matter in Bayou Vista, Omega Bay, the beachfront. There are risks, and I will say when I lived here in Bayou Vista, my son at the time, who was about 4 years old, he did swim in the canals. But when we were done swimming, I also took precautions. If he cut himself, I made sure and treated that. If it got worse, I took him to the doctors. So there are risks. Even along the beachfront, there are risks getting in those waters. And as we all know, and we're living here on the water, there's a lot of other things to be concerned about in that water. You get in and out of there, scrape yourself on a barnacle on there. I mean, it could get infected. I mean, there's Vibrio that's endemic in all of the waters in the globe, warm marine environment. So there are risks when you do that. It's really hard to say, is it totally safe to go swim in that water? I never would say that. I never would say it's totally safe. There are times when the bacteria levels are below a federal swimming standard. You can say that it's relatively safe to be in that water. We post and we do sampling along Galveston Island every day. We have hundreds of thousands of people that get in that water. So there's a risk. There's a risk when you get in those waters, just like there's a risk of driving your car down I-45. So I just wanted to mention that. The fact is that it's very difficult for anyone to say that it's totally safe to get in that water. And I think if you get in that water, there needs to be precautions that are taken. I always made sure when my kids even went to the beach, put swimmer's ear in their ear, because if I didn't, they're going to get an ear infection. So there are some precautions there. But I was willing to accept that risk. I'm an avid fisherman. I get in that water all the time and wade fish. And there's a risk of me doing that. So I just wanted to bring that out as far as great questions, and it's really in some cases a personal choice if you're going to get in those waters or not.
Thank you. Olivia and Betty? No? Okay. Lisa?
Asked and answered.
What's that?
Asked and answered, or asked. She passes.
Okay. Jerry Linquester? Okay. Tammy Inman? She's passing. Okay.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
My name came up, I will. I guess I have a question for the board. I'm a former council member, as some of you know, for 3 years as a city representative. So I no longer represent the city, so I'm free to speak as a citizen here. So I guess my question to you as our elected representatives is, when citizens brought this to your attention, why did y'all wait for citizens to contact TCEQ and get testing going? Why didn't y'all just spend the $140 or whatever it is, and they do it for free, I think, and rather than wait for citizens to have to initiate that process? And then the second, I'm sorry, I thought you said something to me, Sharon. And so I think that's a concern, that y'all waited for somebody else to initiate the process when people, I know when I represented citizens, if somebody brought that severe of an issue to me, I took it upon myself as their elected representative to start the process. I don't think citizens should have had to start these testing. And then the follow-up that is, I guess, to Galveston County Health District, I'm thankful to see you here, but I think it's sad that it took me to call Joe Giusti to get y'all involved in a situation this severe in the canals. So I'm kind of disappointed in our elected people. I know y'all aren't elected, and I'm glad you're here now, but it shouldn't have taken the extent it took to get people here. And then finally, just to thank you, because y'all thanked them up there, but we have a representative here from Representative Middleton's office, and I want to thank them for coming and at least hearing what the citizens had to say. I think it shows a lot of class for Mays Middleton to send somebody from his office here to hear what we all had as a concern. So that's all I have. I don't really have a question other than why it took y'all so long.
Somebody not on the list? There's somebody not on the list. Do you want to call him? Or do we, how far are we through the list?
Fort Worth Court. Okay,
Just pick.
okay. Liz, Mr. Vines, Liz and Joe Vines? Okay. Patty Shipley? Passes. Okay, is that Megan on Selfish?
No comment.
Okay. David Mancuso?
Brought something to share with y'all and with everybody here. Yeah, because they keep denying. My house grease floats on the water, it doesn't stink. You got a huge pile of this down there. When I watch the tide come in on my canal, the particles are so thick in the water you can see them with the naked eye. It collects in my live well. Y'all, but what I really want to state here is something that's come up a few times now. Ronnie, you mentioned that you would never say the water is safe. When would you say it's unsafe? You see, what I'm getting at is, not a one of you, not a single entity here stood up and said to the people of Bayou Vista, hey, you got nasty stuff in your water. And I believe it's a cop-out, and I've read all your mission statements, yours. I've read what y'all say on your webpage, and none of you have lived up to that standard to protect our health and safety. And that's your first job? It's your first job, and it's your first job. If 5 restaurant workers got meningitis, you would close that restaurant. Yet here we have enterococci, a fancy word for feces, I guess, way over the limits, and you don't even put out a warning. And I think that's unfair. I know you're living within the rules set before you, but those rules need to be changed. In other states, they close the beach or the waterway. Maybe that needs to be done here. As much as we don't want that to happen, but for safety, it should happen. And you say, well, we leave it up to people to make their own mind up on that. Really? There's 30 million Americans lost their jobs because of a health hazard going on right now. We're social distancing right now, being told by the state whether we can go to work, not go to work, go to a restaurant, go to a barber, whatever. So I'm just going to say it to your face. You're all a cop-out when it comes to our health and safety. Do more than what your customers expect you to do. And as taxpayers, we are the customers. Step up. Look out for your neighbor. Be a good person. Don't hide behind things. Now, trust was another issue. We self-test. Are we expected to believe the self-test reports y'all were all given from the previous operator? Do you really believe those at this point right now, knowing what you know? Because I know they're false. They have to be, because I called and spoke to the man about this, and I was given a line of BS. We're fine. We do the test. We're fine. We were told the Friday before Memorial Day, we're fine, on Facebook. Yet on 522 and 526, you weren't fine. You were over the limits.
Do you have any other questions, sir? Because I'm going to respond to one of them.
Go, no, I'm done enough. I have a million more. but
I
go
know.
ahead.
But I will respond to one of them. No, I don't believe them. I can't prove it. I don't think I ever will be able to. But at this point, I do not believe previous test results.
Neither did we, and we brought it up to y'all, and you ignored us.
I don't, and it's my personal opinion at this point, and I don't know that anything will ever be able to be done
That's a pass.
about that, other than try to move forward with new involvement.
But also, when one of us citizens comes up with video evidence, don't ignore us. How hard is it to go to the end of the street with a bait net like Bill Spinney does and stick it in front of that discharge pipe? By the way, why does that discharge pipe not have a flapper valve on it? A gravity-fed flapper valve. It'll keep salt water from backing up in it. It'll allow you to flow out. So I'm done.
I appreciate
Thank you. Thank you all.
That's my response to your question. Anybody else? Because I've been waiting to say that.
Lori Lynn, question?
No.
Shelby Deal?
Hi, Shelby Dill. I'm going to refer back to what Robert Young brought up earlier today because not all those questions were answered. Specifically, number one, you guys have the sheet. Why are solids continuing to be discharged? Why is the discharge containing the solids not being diverted to a tanker truck until repairs can be completed? I know we've had a tanker truck here before. Why are we still continuing to put solids into our canals? Why aren't we pumping it into a tanker truck or something like that so we don't continue to make the problem worse? We have right now basically a 10-foot wide by 50-foot long, 2-foot high mound of debris directly under the discharge pipe. That's the length of the width of a school bus. Who is responsible for cleaning that up? It's only 4 feet deep above it. I think everything else has been answered. David would like to ask you also again, why don't we have a flapper valve? I think everything else on here has been answered already. But those are the two things, drawing your attention to number 1 and number 3 on the list that Robert Young gave you. We'd like to have answers to that, please.
All right.
Anything now?
On the flapper valve? On the flapper valve on the end of the pipe, none was ever put in. It's typically not put in for those type of outfall lines. If salinity gets into that line, it's not an issue. It's the collection system that goes into the plant, not what's going out of the plant. So, I mean, one can be installed, but frankly, I don't see the need for it on that location.
What about the solids? Solids.
That's all.
Sludge hauling, that's a different issue. I mean, do y'all have any response from a technical side?
No, the state's basically told us we need to clean it up.
Okay, then,
On the sludge that's out by the outfall, that's will be cleaned up. That's part of what TCQ has told us we need to do, and that will be done. Excuse me? Yes, at the outfall, yes.
no,
What?
we're not dredging the canal.
No, we're not dredging it. They want us to clean the sludge that's in the canal.
Yes, you put it there.
Well, that's what I said. That's what's going to be cleaned. I guess somebody else added something to it. So that's the point I was trying to make. Yes, the sludge is going to be removed from the canal.
All right.
Why are you still discharging it into the canal, not putting it into a tanker truck?
I don't think so. I don't hear that.
Okay. You want to speak?
Yeah, I mean, the sewer lines, the sewer's still flowing. We've still got a lot of flow into the plant coming through, that's being treated. We've done some things to reinitiate the process to work biologically. We are working backwards from where it's coming in on through. We're having to move some of the sludge that had built up in the clarifiers, move them back to the aeration basin where they belong, and allow the mixed liquor there to do its process with the biological process of breaking that down. I'd love to teach a science class on wastewater treatment plants and how they work. Until that's fixed first, then we can clean up the chlorine contact chamber where we have too much sludge on the bottom. It's old, dead sludge. That does need to be removed and cleaned up. And then, by then, we shouldn't have any more coming back into that basin. We would also like to talk about cleaning up the outfall pipe along the way and make sure we've, resolved this in a methodical process. But, yes, the flow's still happening. You're talking 400,000 gallons a day of flow. A tanker truck is 2,000 gallons. So, yeah.
So let me ask you this. Nobody has tested the sludge. Nobody has tested that. We don't know what's in that. Galveston Health Department has said that the water is safe, but they've admitted they don't test the solids. So what's in the solids? I know you call it sludge. What is it?
In a typical way, you've got a combination of bugs, bacteriological bugs, microbials. You've got the solids and debris. You've got some sand. You've got some fecal matter. It's a combination. A lot of that should have been disarmed throughout the process, if you will, with chlorine treatment. You've got a chlorine residual on a minimum as it leaves the plant. You've got enough chlorine to deactivate any of the harmful bacteria there. And as far as this particular plant and these sludge, no, we have not seen the samples from the last sludge samples. Those are reported annually, Wendy? Correct? So we will be looking for those and to pull our own for this year as well.
Mr. McGill on Bonita?
So is it fair to say that you're going to continue to dump fecal matter into the Kentucky Canal until the problem is resolved?
Please abide by the rules today.
Mr. Danny Barnes?
I want to thank you, board, operators, and engineers. As one of the experts said, these problems didn't occur overnight. This board did not create the problems that we're having, they inherited them. This board has worked very hard to rebuild the plant and to get it operational. And you've been fighting an uphill battle. I sit and I listen to the discontent spew their complaints, and all they can say is that everything's going wrong. If they think they can fix it any better, I suggest they get on the board and show us how it's done. If they don't want to be part of the solution, they need to sit down and hush and give this board a chance to fix what needs to be fixed. Thank you.
You said there was one person that didn't sign on the board. Who was that? Can I ask a question? Okay, please, come state your name.
Good evening. My name is Ed Piper. We've only been here about a year, but my question is to the attorney side of the equation. Number one, if it's a self-reporting mechanism and it's an independent agency, you have the right to put you have a right to put a legal hold on that data that comes from the independent agency in order to go back and pull the data, not from the company, but from the actual reporting agency that did it, correct? You can.
I'm not sure I understand the exact
So
question.
your comment earlier
Yeah.
was that, your comment earlier was that you did not believe the reporting mechanism that came from whoever the plant operator was at the time of this incident, correct? That is your
Yeah,
comment.
I don't have any reason to doubt that testing company's results.
not the testing company's results, because the testing company doesn't supply the data to you. It's self-reported. And my understanding is this company, whoever was running this, not TOPS, but the other company, did not self-report. Is that correct?
Let me correct what self-reporting means. In this context, we've been talking about it as far as the state, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, that's what TCEQ stands for.
Correct.
Is a background enforcement agency of the state of Texas. That is an enforcement agency. Some people like to
Right.
think of that as the day-to-day testing company for the district. That is
No.
not the case. It is
Right.
supposed to be tested. We use third-party testing here.
That's correct.
But we hope we don't get TCEQ violations. We may internally find we're off kilter and correct it internally before the TCEQ ever comes in for an enforcement action. Is that fair? That's the backstop. That's why I used it that way. TCEQ is
okay.
the backstop for if you are if you're not operating it correctly, that will be corrected by the TCEQ. But tests are sent to third-party companies, and those test results are sent. I have no reason to doubt those test results from a company.
And it,
TCEQ defines the sampling frequency and the sampling method.
Yes.
They
Right.
define that. So
The-
if the third-party company or whoever didn't follow those procedures and didn't follow the sampling frequency.
I apologize because we're getting off track, but I will say that the operator usually does the sampling testicle. Geez, that was a close one. The sampling procedures according to TCEQ protocol.
Right.
And they do it, and then they testify that they followed the protocol.
That's correct.
And then they send it to a third-party company to do the testing.
And it's
Correct.
Mud's responsibility.
And so if, yeah,
and,
It's Mud's
and,
responsibility to make sure that sampling is followed and checked by a third party. It's a requirement. I'm in the analyzer business and sampling business. I mean, the TCEQ defines the test. You're responsible to define how that's done in the reported results.
I know you're asking me, this question is directed at me, but I would really, we've got TCEQ here, we've got operating professionals here. It is a technical, hands-on question. So you asked about my opinion on those results?
Correct. So you have
That's
an
where my opinion,
there's a standard
stands.
ASTM standard test that is done for the water and the control samples that have to be done. Those test results have to be filed, right, and come from an independent third-party laboratory. All of those test results for the last year, because this did not just occur yesterday or the day that everybody brought this to the attention, is there a way to go back and backtrack, which there should be, the data that was sent over the last 6 to 12 months to find out before they did the expansions or whatever they were doing for the cleanup, the quality that was there before and the quality that was there after. So there should be, in simplistic terms, an Excel spreadsheet that goes through that lists every time that sample was taken, where it was taken, the time that it was taken, and the levels that it was taken. So to go back for a year now, because you have a problem, you're now legally can go back to that third party and say, look, I want all the empirical data. I don't want the data from the company that's supplying it to us and saying everything's kosher. You can get that data and be able to backtrack it because you have to keep it on record for a period of years, correct? So do we know that this is a nuance that just occurred, or is this something that has been building for a period of time? That's the concern. It's just not an instantaneous problem. This has been over a period of time. And look, guys, I've run a plant before. I do it for pipelines and so on and so forth. So I get the undaunted task, right, of the infrastructure that has to go on in it. The concern is, again, from people in the community and so on and so forth, is that the fact is we have no idea how long this has gone, and why would we have no data available to us prior and after that could be shared with the public? Because look, guys, we're paying for it, right? We pay it through our taxes. We do it on a regular basis. And if you're saying that you don't believe the data, right, then there's empirical data somewhere that can be forced out from the third party. It's my only question.
also comment, that was my personal opinion on it. And I said it at the time. I don't know that I'll ever be able to prove that.
You want me to?
Yeah, why don't you comment on the test? I'm looking at a TCEQ test for April 13th, that's clear, and one from February 21st, that's clear. So, I mean,
Basically the sample is collected. At the outfall, or if it's in the basin or in the process, it's put in a sampling container and sent to the lab. The lab analyzes what they are given. That's a third-party lab. The only results they can give you are what's the results of what they tested. Okay, so that data has been provided, and that's the data that was reported. You can't go back on those samples and retest them because there's certain hold times, and they don't keep holding that lab or that sample indefinitely. The results are there. The question is, did they get a proper sample? And there's no way to, like Michael was saying, no way to prove it wasn't. One thing I will add, talking about how long has this been going on, even though we've really only been looking at the plant for a few months, what I can tell you is when I go up there on top of the plant and look at the effluent, what I've seen in the last few weeks has been a whole lot worse than what I saw in November, December, January, February, and even March. Their plant was struggling. You see that in the process, but the effluent quality was, to me, having been in this business a while, all looked within spec. We had no reason to doubt the numbers that we were being given at that time. We did have a sample on, I believe, May 21st that showed it was perfectly fine, looked great, should have been crystal clear water. The sample we took with, I think all took, or East Tex, where the lab came out and they collected the sample, it was 100 and something instead of 2. So that really what prompted us to say, okay, this does not add up.
Thank you very much for attending.
Give me a
Sorry?
head- can I
Oh, Nathan's- oh.
So as I mentioned in the introduction as well, we know this can turn around, and we are all invested in different ways to make sure that this does turn around and change. We've already started making some changes and tweaks to the process. We've got several things in motion already. We believe already start seeing improvements over the next couple of weeks, and within 30 to 60 days to have this back in compliance. That is our goal. We do care about our work, and we do take pride in it, like I said from the beginning. And as we're getting caught up on the history and learning what we can depend on as far as history and maybe what we need to start fresh, that's just more information to better make our decisions with. But we are in process in bringing improvements, drastic improvements to this operation here.
I'm sorry,
Excuse me?
say again?
Yep.
The first question is obviously you got extra process equipment, right? What that? Sorry, you've got extra process equipment out there. Are we looking at bringing that online? I mean, as temporary equipment? You should be, to me, 30 to 60 days is a problem that's out there is actually quite long. I mean, if this was a plant or refinery and I was dumping HRVOCs into the water like we are here, it'd take a week. So I'm not quite understanding why it's taken us 30 to 60 days to get extra equipment in and clean it up. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, the problems coming out of that pipe are nothing compared to the refinery over here.
Yes, so there are some extra equipment that we're putting into place. You know, again, I think 30 days is a good, I think, like I said, you should see improvements right away, very quickly. As far as sitting here to guarantee when we will be back in fully compliance, that's what I feel comfortable with, 30 days. But yes, there's some analyzers, there's some salinity testing kits that we're looking at and implementing as well. You know, again, we don't want to just ask for a blank check up here either, and you know, taking drastic measures as we're learning our place in this, and allowing some time for these changes to take place.
And we increased our sampling frequency. So it is increased over requirement and methodology.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just
That's where
curious.
they were
I've
hired,
been-
man. I'll tell you right now, the day that was, when the new operating company came in, first as an advisor, and then when this company was chosen, it is testing, recommendation. It is daily.
I
sampling.
appreciate that. I've been driving by that pipe for about 8
That's
weeks.
what drives the corrective measures. And that's why the companies that were interviewed were chosen along those measures of companies that were capable of.
Then obviously there was negligence in the sampling process. Had to been. I mean, I'm in process analytics. I build systems every day, environmentally, quality, everything for the process industries. And there's just no way that sampling was done on a routine basis to the spec over a period of 8 weeks, and the data that is reported is being reported. There was negligence in the sampling process. No ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, guys, it's all about taking a representative sample, delivering it to the lab, and getting results. What was coming out of that pipe, there is no way those results represented what was coming out of the pipe. I hate to say that, but it's sad.
We both said it.
So,
I've said it personally. He just said it about, on May
One thing I like to
25th.
yeah, it's just
May 21st.
frustrating because you've got people saying it over and over and over.
Yeah,
And-
you two are not board members.
That's, I know.
Board members,
All right,
you know. I'd like to ask two things if I might.
Can,
Bill,
one thing I like to do is respond to additional response to his question. One thing also about a treatment plant like this, it's a biological process. It's a living, breathing, if you will, entity. In some ways, a physical, chemical plant is easier to fix and bring back online than basically growing a healthy population, et cetera. So it takes a little longer than, and personally, I'm a little more optimistic than Nathan, but
I'm managing expectations.
yeah, I know he's managing expectation. But everything I see, they're definitely heading in the right direction. And implementing some good changes.
But I will say, we want to go a step
one,
further and
Barbie-
beyond the outfall
Barbie
and that
didn't
cleanup.
decline. She preferred-
I understand these odor signs have been out here for quite some time, and we would like to be able to take those down eventually, soon. Very, as well, so.
She deferred to later.
Okay, Barbie. 3 minutes, Bobby. No, he's only had his time, Barbie. Barbie, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, one question is, one of the results, the reports that y'all have online show the enterococcus or whatever at 132, I think, and 156. I didn't know I was gonna do this, it's back there. But I pulled it off of the website. So that's above the beach risk closure of the 104. So if we see these levels again, who here is going to notify us, and how is that going to happen? Thank you.
Fair question.
Fair question. that report was the third party that the board hired, 1st of May, to run tests so we could confirm that we had some issues. And East Tex testing is continuing to test with tops. And if you notice on the later part, the last report was 6.2. It had come down substantially. And so we will continue to post those test reports as they become available with East Tex on the lab, on the website.
I can elaborate on that too. I've had the conversation with TOPS since they were engaged after Wednesday officially about Nathan and I have talked about doing the notice system, which I know they have on other districts. You guys have one here, and getting him up to speed on the text message notice system and the phone call notice, whatever's most appropriate for when there is a notice. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly we can notice you. And I'm being honest about that because we've been restricted from sending out notices.
With the Galveston County Health Department, I think he just said a while ago through the media, the daily news.
Right.
I'm from Galveston, I see them all.
What I think we can do immediately without any question on any other regulatory authority is send out a notice if there's something, an excessive limit, and go ahead and put that information out there so people can make the decision. We have been restricted from doing a no-swim notice or anything like that. We can't. But a notification like I just described, I've been in talk with TOPS about using the current notification system to go ahead and send out, really high test numbers when they occur. We don't have a specific system or protocol in place. It's been a week. It's been less than. But it was, Thursday is when I first brought that up, and they were hired on Wednesday night. I want to piggyback on the existing system and use TOPS once they can tie into it, and then when they are doing protocols, I need to know what's the real-world results of some of these tests. Violations happen, like I said earlier, but what are the real-world results when we want to give a notice of an exceptional result, like, hey, and we can't say certain things legally. That's just the case, and I apologize for it. We are restricted from saying certain things, but we can certainly let you know some test results on this district's behalf. And so that is in the works to get that out. But it's got to be through the operator testing as the source of that.
So once your contract is completed or if you accept it with the Galveston County Health Department, then that notification will start coming from you, Mr. Schultz, through the media and the various procedures like you do for the beach?
No, that would just be one source of the testing. If that contract even goes through, right? You just provide the testing results to the district.
We do provide that. Of course, all of the information that we collect is open, is subject to open Open Records Act. So, we can get that information. As far as we would notify the MUD immediately. They're going to get the reports as soon as they're available. As far as putting out that information through social media, we as a health district and in consultation with our local health authority need to, as an organization, decide when is it most appropriate and when is it most effective. You put these notifications out there. It's like we have a couple of beaches along Bolivar Peninsula, and they're above the standard all the time. People walk right past the signs, never think nothing of them. And not to say that if we put that out here that it would happen here, but we will have to consult with our local health authority to decide when is it most appropriate. How do you get that information out? Putting it out through social media, our robocall. We could give that information to the MUD. What's the best way to get that out there to the public? I hate to say it, but
all I can say is that is being discussed.
Will the MUD inform the residents when it exceeds the standards? That's what we're asking. Will you inform us, the MUD?
I can't say that specifically because standards are exceeded. I just don't know what the protocol will be. I don't set it.
The state says 104.
Right, but you understand what I'm saying. So everything's green across the board and there's 102 instead of 101 on one setting, do we robocall everybody? If it affects your health, does it? On a 102 versus 101? That's where I asked for the technical information on what is healthy and what is not, and exceptional violations. All I can tell you is the conversation is being had. And we're asking to involve the operator on starting those notices. You've seen the laundry list of tests that are done. It's not my area of expertise. I know enough about it to know, some of the protocol, but I'll defer to what are the real world things that need to be disclosed. And then the board will decide whether they may notice everybody if there's any violation ever. That may happen. I don't know. That's the board's decision. Okay? So that's the full range of discussion on that topic. I don't know what else to tell you right now.
Thank you, Michael, and that's the reason why we asked the experts to come today to answer these questions, because there are so many things that we still have to understand. The Galveston County Health has presented the board with a contract proposal. We're going to be evaluating that and voting on that at the next meeting so that they can come test the canals. We have to follow the guidelines that are set by the state and by the Galveston area before we can make any kind of warning. And Eric Moeller has volunteered to work within the board to a communications agreement, a communications contract with the members of the residents, so we can then start saying this is the way we will notice any type of regular reports, whether robocall, non-robocall, so everything is above board and everybody knows how they will be reported. That's the only way we can effectively run the mud system. So I appreciate everyone coming tonight. The list has been completed as far as the questions, and we thank everyone for coming. So with that,
Somebody in the back.
Bill?
There's somebody in the back.
Okay.
My name is Chad Post. I live on Sailfish. My biggest question is, I know you guys are doing a great job. It's hard what you're doing. There's a lot of uphill battles. But with the debris in the water, how are you going to clean it out? Because you just can't clam bucket dredge it. And then also, the other canals that it has dispersed to, it's going to settle. Oil settles, grease settles. It's going to get stirred up. What are you guys going to do about that? That's the big question.
That is a very good question because the wind comes from the south to the north, and that's an Omega Bay problem.
Yeah.
Every end of our canals, we have to take them out all the time. So that is a problem that we have on a regular basis where we live. Maybe it's the same thing. What's that?
Future,
Right.
a year, 5 years from now. But the quicker we get it fixed and pulled out, the better off we are.
I totally agree, and that's what the discussion will be about next board meeting with the Corps of Engineers. It's not an issue that's happened, it's something that's happened over the last 10 years, and that's being addressed and talked about. So I appreciate again you coming, and anyone else, we can adjourn.
One more.
One question, okay?
Sorry, I didn't sign up. But it's for Nathan. Since you're the professional here now, I'm so thankful you're here. For 10 years, I've been tired of driving by and smelling the plant. Is it going to take more bond money to fix it? Because we've already given a bond to fix it once. Are you going to be able to fix it, and how long do you estimate it really being fixed?
Again, we're still learning the plant, but we believe we can operate it in such a way, if it's operating correctly, there might be 1 or 2 times during the day or the week that, the blowers first kick on in the digester, or, the influent flows first coming in from the lift station. You might have some different types of odor, but it should not be a constant stink from that plant.
I'll add something. I'll add something.
Bill,
Rich.
Bill is,
Bill?
Also, one of the items we're doing with the flow splitter is we're combining the raw and return in that box, which will also help with the odor issues.
Very good. Appreciate everyone coming, and with that, what